Hello and welcome everyone to the Seattle International Film Festival and welcome to the Q&A for the film The Return: Life After ISIS. I am Justine Barda and I'm delighted to have the director Alba Sotorra Clua here with us, joining us from Barcelona, where I think it's around midnight. Alba.
Yes. Hi, hello. Hi. Good night or good afternoon. I don't know there. What time is it?
Here we're middle of the afternoon, but thank you very much for staying up a little late for us.
No problem.
Okay, so just one housekeeping note for the audience. If you could please use the chat feature for comments and the Q&A feature for questions, that will help us keep them straight. Okay, let's get started. Alba, I wonder if you could begin by telling us a little bit about what made you want to tell this story.
Yeah, okay. So I think it all begins with my previous film. My previous film is about a woman commander a Kurdish woman from the group of women who were fighting against, sorry, because there is a program popping up, sorry. So I following the life of a Kurdish commander fighting against ISIS. And because of that film, it was a very intimate film that I made. I filmed it on my own. And I was part of the commando of women of the battalion that she was the commander. And I spent long periods in the front lines. So I witnessed the war against ISIS from the Kurdish front lines. Mm-hmm. And that triggered a lot of questions. And yeah, and then when the war finished, in March 2019, I was there and I started this other film. And I guess it's the need of making this film comes from this, and then the possibility, because accessing the camps, the detention camps, is really, really difficult. Journalists have access, but it's a very restrictive access. You can be there for 1 hour, 2 hours maximum, and you cannot like openly walk around but because of the connection I had with the Kurdish women who were protecting these camps, that are the women fighters. Mm-hmm. The entrance was, I mean, not easy, but I had free entrance. I was able to spend there for long periods, and that's, yeah.
I would love to hear more about the conditions of filming, because you seem to have developed a real a rapport with the women where they seem to trust you. And I imagine that was difficult. Were you based in Kurdistan or in Syria throughout the production?
Yeah, I was coming back and forth, but every trip was long. Like in the beginning, of course, the pre-production, and it was maybe a month. But then for the first period of shooting, we were 2 months there. And the crew was mixed. Half of the crew were coming from, we were all female, because it was much better to be comfortable in the camp, since all the women in the camp, all the persons in the camp are women. Okay. So we were all female. Half were coming from Barcelona and the other half were Kurdish. Okay. And it was really difficult in the beginning for all of us, because especially for our Kurdish colleagues, because they had lived in first hand the violence of ISIS, because either they had lost family or friends, or I mean, their own homes had been destroyed for some. So it was hard. There was, in the beginning, we wanted to focus only on Sevinaz. She's the Kurdish woman who's doing the workshop. Right. And my goal was I was really impressed by how Kurdish women were finding ways to trying to build a dialogue after the war and after so much violence. Mm-hmm. I felt that giving the chance to the women that were in the other side, that the enemies, to give them a chance to express themselves, to talk and to listen. Mm-hmm. I felt that was something very brave. And in the beginning, I was not even myself interested in the stories of the other woman, of the woman. So it was a long process for all of us. Like and also for the women joining the workshop, for them it was also not easy to talk to us, because they had really bad experiences with media. So I guess that because our focus in the beginning was not them, it made them feel comfortable. And as time went through and we started to know each other, and as any natural process, when you know somebody else and start to, to know who that person is, or to feel more comfortable with that person, or spend like little quotidian times with that person,
Sure.
you stop, I guess, the trust starts little by little, and you stop fearing the other, and yeah. I don't know if I express myself well, but yeah, it was a long process.
Yeah, understandably. What is it? One of the things that's so interesting about your film is the mix of women at this camp, and so that you have these the Kurdish women who are running the camp and this workshop in particular, and then of course you have the women who are featured in your film, and then you have the as I understand it from the film, a contingent of women who are still committed to ISIS, and who have some strong negative feelings toward the women that they see as leaving that part of their lives behind. How did you navigate that?
Yeah,
It seems like
it was very complicated, because also like we felt that tension from some women in the camp, that they not only they will look like they will through like, but I don't know how you say it in English, but they will look at us in a very aggressive way, but also sometimes we got into fights with other women, like talking, like because they screamed at us, like, they yelled at us just because we were there. And during the whole process of the workshop, there were a few women who were attending, and because of the pressure of these other women, they stopped coming because they were afraid.
Okay.
But the women who remained, because of the workshop, they became friends, and this friendship, like in any prison, they became a group, and when you are a group, you are stronger. So thanks to this strength that they got together, they were able to face somehow the other woman, and be able to stay, or to express more freely what they think. Yeah, and in some moments, like we always had protection. There was always Kurdish, a Kurdish soldier with us, a Kurdish woman soldier. And later, the things became more relaxed, like maybe in the last period that we were there. But yeah, but there was we were. There was this issue of safety all the time that we had to take care of.
The analogy to a prison is an interesting one. Do the women feel themselves to be?
Yeah, it is. They are held there. They cannot go out, not even to the shop in the village next. They cannot go out. They are held there. It looks like a refugee camp. It doesn't even look like a prison, because there is no time to build a prison. There is no resources to build like a real prison with the. But they are held there.
So one of the things that I wondered about in your filming this is what it's like to tell a story that is still actively unfolding. When I first saw your film and I was deciding to program it, I was also reading in the headlines that Shamima, for example, had lost her court case before the UK Supreme Court, and we see some of that in the film as well. That the women's fate is being determined while you were shooting. Was that challenging?
Yeah, the most delicate part of it is that you don't want to do anything that can interfere in a negative way in the legal processes that they are going through.
Right.
And like we always were in touch with the lawyers, and of course the lawyers always said, no, we don't want them to talk, it's better they don't say anything. So there was a lot of pressure from the lawyers to the woman participating in the film, or attending the workshop that then. telling them, no, it's better for you not to do anything. I mean, not to speak not to be on media. But I told them always, like, this is not news. This is a film that it's going to come at some point, and probably I hope it will do good for you, not bad, no. And so, for instance, with the case of Shamima, I had been asking for photos from her when she was a child, and the family was a bit reluctant to participate. And after we got the news from the case, when they felt all was lost, and the only chance then might be the pressure of public opinion, because there is a change on the narrative and public opinion can see this in a different way, then they sent me the photos, and we added them at last minute in the film before the film was released.
Okay, that is so interesting. I mean, one of the things I wondered about when I was watching the film is that the women must have been aware that once the film is released, that it would enter the public record about them and shape public opinion about them. And so perhaps even more than many documentary subjects, they have a lot riding on how they are presented or perceived by the audience. Was that an issue in the filmmaking, something that worried them and influenced their behavior, do you think?
In the beginning, yes, especially because, I will say that half of our protagonists before the film, they were a lot in the media, and this affected them very negatively. And the other 3 were not in the media at all, and this didn't affect them. I mean, it was good for them not to be in the media. So, of course, the 6 of them had things, but they, the workshop was like it was a space where they were really, where they felt really comfortable. It was the only thing happening there during the day. So it was the moment of the day that they will do something different. The routine will change. So it was important for it was some, I mean, they were having fun. They were, I don't know, meeting each other because they were not friends before. And then it was also a strong process of connecting with things that you had left apart. Like, I mean, when all these women, when they arrive in Roche camp, some of them come even from Al Hol, which is another camp where they were taken first, and then from there they were moved to Roche camp. And they had lived experiences that were very traumatizing. And since most of them have kids, the way to survive those experiences and to just keep alive and is to put them aside, not to think at all. And they were telling this all the time when we were on the workshop. They will tell Sabinas, you are making us open a door, like go back to think on things, and then if I think on this, it makes me very sad, or it makes me feel very regretful, or it makes me, but it was necessary. I mean, I felt it was very helpful and very therapeutic, and because first because it's always good to share traumatic experiences with other women who went through similar traumatic experiences.
Sure.
Then for Sabinas, like for the group of women being some Kurdish and some Western who were together in the IC side, I think that facing the other one was for them, and the pain of Sabinas, it was also important for them to be more connected with the consequences to be connected with what it meant to be part of that group. Of course, and then I think that sharing the pain. Like, for instance, Shamima, I felt this really strongly with Shamima. When I met her, she was very cold. She was but not cold in a way that I'm cold, I'm a bad person. She was cold like I'm gone, I'm not here. Like she was 19, and with 19, she had lived so many things that, I mean, you don't live in a lifetime. Like being married at 15, having given birth to 3 kids, having lost two, and then the third one, like it's so heavy what she went through.
Yeah.
And then she wasn't able to cry. She didn't even cry when her kid died. So it was many months later of being there that I saw her crying once we were talking, and it really, wow! I felt how she went, how she, I don't know how to say it in English, but she had, I don't know, she had connected with herself. She had been for a few years in a context where she was not allowed to think on her own, or to say what she felt, or to say what she wanted to do, because it was a very, very restricted environment, and she lived pain, and so it took her a while to be able to connect again with who she was before she left. Sure. And this is why also I think these first interviews they made her were so, I mean, she was like, people in the UK or people who watched those interviews felt that she was feeling no remorse, or that she was still, I don't know, agreeing with the atrocities of ISIS. I think she was just shocked and traumatized, and yeah, and also very fearful from those groups of women that still hold the ideology of ISIS, because at that time she was in Al-Hol, which is another camp, and that camp is out of control still today. It's a very tough camp.
As you witnessed the, you talk about Shamima sort of reconnecting with herself, and as you witnessed that process and were part of that process, did you feel like you came to an understanding of why these women did what they did?
Yeah, I've been asked this before. Like, I think that understanding, I can feel them, but I think that not even themselves understand why they went. Like, I don't know. I think in the film there is with it saying, no, when I think back and I see myself and I see I came here, I think, wow, no, what happened? I think that sometimes we take wrong decisions, we make wrong choices, and sometimes they're small wrong choices, and sometimes they're huge, no? And I think they made a huge wrong choice, and they know that, they are aware of this, and I think they deserve a second chance, because they learn a lot through this process. Now they know, and now if they will go back, they will never take this decision again. And again, like the understanding. For instance, do I understand Shamima? Yes, she was 15. She had peer pressure. You are in a context where there is like a wave of youth that thinks that this is super cool, and we also don't have to think that, ISIS had a really sophisticated propaganda machinery, and there were people online very skilled, that they knew who was vulnerable to this kind of propaganda, and they convinced lots of people, thousands and thousands. So yeah, I think that there is still a lot we need to learn from this, and that they can help us to understand more deeply how these networks work, which is the way that they are so successful, no? What is the key of their success, and then we can help preventing these things to happen again.
Yeah, that's a really important point. We have a question from the audience. What is the current status of the main protagonists in the documentary? Has anyone been allowed to go back to their country?
Yeah, no, unfortunately, since February, March, when we closed the last cars of the film, there have been no major changes for any of the protagonists, and no, they are all still struggling for their return.
So one thing that I'm curious about in all of this is that several countries have repatriated some people who went to join ISIS, right? For foreign fighter nationals and wives or widows and their children in some cases. But why not these women? And do you think that there is something particular about them? Maybe it is their high profile, right, that makes
it's bad luck. Like in the case of the US has repatriated many people, and as a country, they have defended the need and they have pushed other countries to repatriate. But for Huda, it was that unfortunate tweet by Trump that like put her, and this is because at the end it's also an issue of public opinion, and the majority of public opinion is against the repatriation of Huda or Shamima, especially in the UK, this because she's been very high profile in the media, and this makes unpopular the repatriation. So it just makes it very complicated. And in the case of Kimberly in Canada, they've been very reluctant. I think they only have repatriated one kid that was orphaned. Well, I don't know how you say it in English.
Orphan. Orphaned, like
orphan.
Was orphaned.
Yeah, okay. An orphan kid. Yeah, and then the Netherlands had been. The Germany had repatriated some people, but not with it yet. But Belgium, France, but we didn't. The reason of some countries, like every case is different, and depending on the way, like the reason that they use for in appealing. For instance, women in Al-Hol, they were using the fact that the camp is very, very dangerous. And in Rosh Camp, some women use this too, but compared to Al-Hol, Rosh Camp is not that dangerous. So they were like, Widette, for instance, was her case. She lost her case because they told her it's not so urgent to be repatriated. The camp where you are, it's okay. So.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting how they make that assessment. From your experience, what is likely to happen to the women whose governments are unwilling to take them back?
Again, here there are like Huda's case and Shamima's case are different from the other ones. Like them, they both had been, their nationalities had been revoked for different reasons, but so now it's really difficult for them. Instead, Kimberly or Widette, Nawal, Hafida, I think it's just a question of time. For them, it's a question, probably month. But I think Huda is the one that has things more difficult. And no one, I mean, not even, I've talked with their lawyers and families, and no, it's really difficult to know what will happen. But we hope that with pressure and with pressure and pressure from the media, pressure from public opinion, pressure from some sides of policymakers that believe in the repatriation, that it can happen.
Okay, we have another question from the audience. How many years did your film cover? This audience member had mixed feelings on how structured the camp looked at the end. The swing set and the permanent look of the camp, it looked better, but also as if the camp is not going away. That seems like a fair assessment. So how many years altogether were you filming?
It's 2 years in total from the first time we went until the end. And yeah, it feels, when I also had mixed feelings to say, oh wow, now you have it looks more like a home, you have, but at the same time it shows how long they have been there.
And then we have another question about Kimberly in particular. Kimberly seemed interesting. She did not seem radicalized, but is she stuck? And why do you think she went? Sort of touched on some of that, but
I think for Kimberly, Kimberly is not really stable mentally. I discovered this, spending time with her, you can feel that, I mean, she has ups and downs, and some days she was not stopping. She will talk, and I mean, she doesn't stop talking. Another day she will feel like she's not stable. And then talking with her sister, she's told me that she's been in therapy, and that she had done before things that the family was like, that shocked the family a lot, but they always somehow like save her. But this time it went like too far, to a place that they were not able to help her anymore. I think Kimberly was manipulated, like all the women, but especially Kimberly. She was at a state with herself that very vulnerable, that she fell on the trap. I'm sure, like, I will put at the end we are talking about, I can talk from what I felt when meeting somebody, but I'm sure she didn't went there because of violent or extremist feelings and willing to, I don't know, kill non-Muslims, or I don't know, foster the violent part of the war. There was, like in any war, she helped as a nurse, and this is, she told a lot of stories of things that she witnessed when she was working in those underground hospitals, and I'm sure she saw terrible things. Also, she tried to escape, and then she was in prison in ISIS, and yeah, I think she was manipulated, and yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. So a reminder to the audience that if you have any last questions, to put them in the Q&A. And then a question of mine. One of the remarkable things that you manage in this film is to provide some insight into why the women made the choices that they did, and to humanize them. I think in a way that that I hadn't seen in the media before. How is the film being circulated? How is it being shown? And is there a way that it can be used to influence the legal outcomes for the subjects?
Yeah, in that sense, releasing a film in festivals online, it's a different experience.
Sure.
So I don't know what's the feeling of the people. I have no idea, because I haven't been in any room together with the people and feeling what they feel, or listening directly their questions, or seeing the face when the lights open. And so in that sense, I have no idea. But what you can feel from the distance is only from what you can read in the media. Yeah. And then the interesting part of it, and in terms of, is it gonna help to make change, is that we've been contacted by few, both like non-governmental organizations and governmental organizations, who felt that was because it's probably the first film that looks looks at the issue from a completely different perspective, because until now the media had a very negative vision regarding the repatriation, no, and not forced, not pro repatriation, but the opposite. So as I felt, like from the politician side, or the people who works in the government, they see it as a tool to put pressure. So in that sense, I'm really, really happy. We also organizations like Reprieve in the UK, that they are also in the US. They are they are helping us to. They are specialists in this. They are lawyers, so they are working. They are working in a report, and they are in touch with the woman, and they are working in a I don't know how you call it, like rehabilitation program, that it's especially with this idea that they can be helpful on the woman that participated in the film can, and because all of them also speak very well, and they, I mean, they could be good spokeswoman towards other young women who could fall in same kind of. So they are working on a program to develop this. I don't know how to say it in English, but they want to, they want to work with them on prevention. And and this is happening now because of the film. So I'm really thrilled on this.
Wow, that's that's an important outcome for a film to have. But now maybe to a question that's less about the subjects and more about your experience with this film in releasing it, because when you just talked about what it's been like for you to take the film to festivals in this strange time, to release it virtually. I'm just struck by how that experience must be, sort of unique for you, because this is such an emotionally powerful film. Do you get any feedback from the audience? I know it's not the same as being in the same room, but through Q&As or
it's very difficult. It's very difficult. No, the most thrilling, like the most strange, because of the pandemic. Also, I was not able. I've never released a film without watching it together with my protagonist. So, of course, I wanted them to be the first ones to watch it and not even close the edit before they watch it, in case there is something like really. I had to change a couple of things that, like, they are not relevant for the story, but some, like, I know I said this and it was nonsense, but for her it was important to take it out. Okay, then we took it out. But I sent them the film, like they watch it in a phone at night in a tent. And I wasn't there with them. They even had, they didn't have the means to watch it in a TV or in a screen or a laptop. They don't have laptop. And this was the most strange part. And then having their feedback without, in a not fluid way, because it's not easy to communicate with the cams. So that was the most difficult part. But it had to be like this,
Right. What feedback did they have for you?
Actually, it was great, because it's always difficult. Like your protagonist, it's very difficult that the protagonist is happy, because happy, no? Because you always, I mean, it's your point of view at the end, no? But they probably, because they are looked at in such a negative way. Anything that is not so negative, they were like, wow, no, it's
right.
Yeah.
On that note, we actually do have a final comment from the audience. This audience member says, I compliment you as you are very fair, informative, and respectful to all the subjects, but also honest about their past. She says, I thought it was extremely fair.
Thank you. It was a big work of editing with Michael Nollet, our editor, because it was difficult to find this balance, like to be, because in some way there are things like I've been there for a long time with them, so I have a strong empathy, but you cannot, no, it's like there are a lot of other things that are also, I mean, you cannot avoid, no, it happened. Like, for instance, with Huda, I discovered Huda's tweets not like a bit later when I met her. Like I was already very connected to her, and then I discovered all these tweets, and I was like, oh my God, like, please, you have to explain me where this comes from, and and so I felt it. I could not, like, all what I knew. There are things I don't know. You cannot put, but the things that are there, it's important to also, because for people, like, because I think it's the key. No, this film is about giving a second chance even to your worst enemy. If these Kurdish women are doing it, probably it's because they have no other chance, because there is no other way to solve a conflict especially when it has been so violent, no? In the war in Syria, I mean, I don't think I don't know, I haven't been in, fortunately in any other war, but it was really atrocious. And after, and it's a civil war, so it's people, no, neighbors killing each other. So, and in that sense, I think women in the aftermath of a war, they have a really important role in the reconciliation process, because they are able to, to try to find a different way out of that circle of violence. And yeah, I think that this is an example. Like if they who really lived ISIS violence are able to give a second chance, it's not only that they are able, that they feel it's the only way to solve it, no? That you need to listen to the other and try to understand, so it change the way you've been doing until now, and find a way that they have to live together. It's the same, they are in the same country, no? I mean within ISIS, people that believe in ISIS ideology and are from Syria, no? And we that are so far away from that war, we are so scared from a group of women and their kids, no? Yeah.
That's a terrific point. Like it hadn't even occurred to me to think in those terms, but really they set an amazing example in how they are processing this experience, in the forgiveness, in a practical approach to moving forward.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, just hope that some of these governments will be as reasonable.
Yeah, see.
All right, Alba, Sotorra, Clua, thank you so much for being part of the festival.
Thank you.
For the conversation and for sharing your terrific film with us.
Thank you so much, Justine. Thanks. And thanks for selecting it and giving me the chance to show it in the festival. Thank you.
Of course.
Bye-bye. Good afternoon.
Bye-bye. Yes, sleep well.
Bye. Ciao, ciao.